So, good afternoon, sir, and very warm welcome to all the respected ones, faculty members, and dear students. On the behalf of Yogananda Center for Theology, I am Dr. Supriya Srinivasan. Heartily welcome you all in our webinar series of YCT. To grace the webinar, today we have among us and renowned speaker, Professor T.M. Srinivasan, an eminent professor of Yoga and Physical Science from S. Vyasa University, Bangalore. We also have our Chancellor, Sir, Honorable Chancellor, Sir, and Patron of YCT, Professor P.K. Khosla. I welcome you, Sir. And I would like to say a few words about Professor T.M. Srinivasan. However, he is more than my limited words of introduction. Professor Srinivasan is a director of Sanjeevani Ayurveda and Yoga Foundation, Chennai. He is an editor of several national and international journals. He has around hundreds of publications in several reputed journals. Professor Srinivasan has authored several books and book chapters in the field of yoga, holistic science, and Vedic science. And today we have a great privilege to listen to him on a very interesting topic, Bhakti for Transcendence. Now, I would like to request our Chancellor, Sir, and Patron of YCT, Professor P.K. Khosla, Sir, for a welcome note on the behalf of Shoolini University. Over to you, Sir.
Thank you very much, Supriya. Professor Srinivasan, Gulshan Gautam, and other colleagues, friends, students. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone, especially Professor Srinivasan, on the eve of this lecture that he is going to deliver us. As I understand that transcendence is a way of entering into yourself, and this is going to be a new thought that bhakti and meditation, they at some stage become parallel in showing the similar results. So we are more keen to listen Dr. Srinivasan than what I have to say. I welcome him because I have been to Vyasa University long back. I'm very much impressed with the surroundings and the level of the spirituality and the vibration that flow there. And we will like to invite Professor Srinivasan in the nearest future to Shoolini University. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Can I start now? Supriya, can I start?
I think there is this link, delinked. She is not able to listen. Supriya, are you listening?
Supriya, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can. I don't know why she is not.
Yes.
Hello. मेरे को कुछ सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है मैम, ये लाइब्रेरी का लैपटॉप है, मुझे कुछ भी सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है. हाँ, मैं वेट कर रही हूँ कि सर जब बोलना शुरू करेंगे तो मैं दूसरे लैपटॉप पे शिफ्ट कर लूंगी.
Some issue with ma'am's laptop. Speaker is not working, but mic is okay. You all can continue, sir.
अच्छा, ठीक है, okay ma'am, okay. Sir, please start the webinar.
Okay, thank you. If there's a problem, let me know.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you.
We are waiting to listen you, sir.
Thank you, all of you. Gurubhyo Namaha, Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. My good wishes to all of you and my thanks to the Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, and the rest of the faculty, and especially Supriya, who had the questionable privilege of talking to me over many days. Anyway, I'm very happy to be here. And more importantly, I am taken by the wonderful confluence of spirituality and science in your campus through this Yogananda's Center for Theology. As you know, Theos means God. Logos is word. The word of God is already in science, in technology, and bringing
फुल
two
स्क्रीन कर दो
of
और
them
मुझे
together
मैं इसको शिफ्ट करती हूँ दूसरे
is
लैपटॉप पे तब
wonderful for the students who are waking up to different aspects of reality.
है ना वीडियो ऑफ कर देती
All
हूँ
great
इसको
scientists
बल्कि
have talked about it.
लीव
I'm
कर
not going to
देती
talk
हूँ
about it. Just to say that my own experience with
मैं
Sri
अब इसको लीव
Yogananda,
कर रही हूँ
of course,
है
his
ना
book
हाँ
is an outstanding book, Autobiography Yogi. And the message that comes to me whenever I read it once in a while, just to get ideas about how to be with a guru, how to conduct oneself, how to collect knowledge from these external, eternal people is one of the messages through Yogananda's works. And he's very much into the Indianness of philosophy and has given several examples. I don't want to go into detail to take away from our main focus. So I'll talk about Bhakti for transcendence. Transcendence simply implies going beyond the human condition. What is human condition? We know it is coming here, learning a few things, teaching a few things, making a living, having a family, etc., etc. And then we correct some good points and some bad points, good karma and bad karma. And then we leave, we have karma to come back and enjoy or reap the consequence of karma, what we have done. Either good or bad, we have to go through this. But we want to go beyond that condition. So that is transcendence, mukti, that is release from our birth and death and cycling ourselves through this process. How do you do that? Is it possible? Have people done it? Yes, of course, we know from stories, from ideas from Ramayana and Mahabharata and Bhagavata, etc. We know very much that people have been going through this and gotten into transcendence. And one of the seemingly easiest method, I'm saying seemingly because every method, this is the highest level of human endeavor, so it is going to be difficult. But some of the levels of the different types, the easier one seems to be Bhakti. We look into it a little bit deeper. I have basically, what I've done is taken ideas from Bhakti Sutras of Narada Bhakti Sutra, which is an authoritative treatise on Bhakti. And I'll also introduce something about Bhakti from Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Those who know Patanjali Yoga Sutra might be surprised that Bhakti is even mentioned in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yes, as per my Acharya, I'll refer to him when the time comes. There are some Bhakti Sutras in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. That is the second one. The third one I'm going to introduce, of course, is Bhakti Yoga in chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. So we'll look into briefly all the three, hopefully. I also weave into certain amount of, shall we call it storytelling? It is not story, it is what happened actually way back in time in the southern part of India, how the Bhakti seems to have a very strong root and express itself in various ways. I'll touch upon it also a little bit so that it is more a breaking from a very heavy ideas about Bhakti Sutras. Okay, so these are three main aspects I'm going to talk about, three main sources of information: Narada Bhakti Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Yoga Sutra Patanjali. Now, what is Bhakti? The definition of Bhakti, the root is bhaj, and has been translated as to attach to God only, to attach oneself, mind and body and spirit to God only without any selfish motive. There is no selfish motive. I don't want to become happier. I don't want to become richer. I don't want to become anything famous, but I want to devote myself, be in the presence of and doing service to God. That's the ultimate bhakti. So it starts with what we call apara bhakti. That is a lower level bhakti where I get to know the person. I like the person, some aspect of it, God. But there is a selfishness in this because I want to know, I want to get to know this. My ego comes into the way. Finally, ending in what is called apara bhakti, where there is pure bhakti towards the contemplated God, and my ego doesn't come into play at all. So that is so we are moving from a self-referral to selflessness in the bhakti. So defining bhakti, I said that bhuj is the root, bhaj is the root to be attached to God. Now, Vedavyasa at one time, after compiling all his fantastic, he had compiled everything we know of Mahabharata and Bhagavata and all those scriptures and Vedas themselves, he was not very happy. Still something seemed to be missing in him. He didn't know what it was. So he wanted to go and meet Narada. He went to sage Narada, the celestial bard, who keeps singing about Narayana in his various jaunts around the whole universe. So Vedavyasa goes to Narayana, and Narayana asks, Vedavyasa meets sage Narada, and Narada asks him, "You look a little dejected. What's wrong with you? You've done so much. You have achieved so many things, goals in your life. There's nothing left to do. Why are you seemingly dejected?" And Vedavyasa answers, "Swami, I do not know why. There seems to be something missing. I don't know what it is." Then Narada says, "Okay, I think I know the problem. Let me tell you about bhakti." And in 84 sutras, Narada tells Vedavyasa what bhakti is about. The nature of first 24 sutras, he talks about nature of bhakti. From another 10 sutras, he talks of superiority of bhakti over karma, jnana, and yoga. And then he talks about methods of practice of bhakti. And he then describes who the true bhaktas, how they behave, how they go around the world, what they do. And lastly, he gives a brief description of great bhaktas that have come before them. So this is an overall way that Bhakti Sutras comes through. And I'm following the Swami Sivananda's interpretation of Bhakti Sutras. We have no better authority than Sivananda himself. Actually, the book is available freely for download. Kindly go and look it up, and you can download and read through. And there's nothing like reading yourself and making notes and thinking about it and practicing what you can. Okay, so let's dwell a little bit on Bhakti Sutras. The second sutra says, Satu Asmat Paramo Prema Rupa. Parama Prema Rupa is Bhakti. That is, Prema is complete dedication and loving nature towards God. That is what is Bhakti. This is the definition, as earlier I mentioned. That's a mention. So Bhakti develops as faith. You must have a faith to start with, that this is the path I want to go through, and the path will give me results, positive results, because people earlier to me have done this. So I'm not going to ask any questions about the path. I want to traverse the path. I want to climb this. and go to the end. So first, so you have the faith, and then when you start looking at God, any aspect of God, like Krishna, like Rama, or Narasimha, or whoever it is, who have been with us earlier, and their stories, you talk about their historical events that took place in Krishna's time, and what all things he was able to do. And the faith blooms into attraction. So you're attracted to the person, or the God figure, the God image, the Vigraha, and his various deeds amongst men. Then it gets to adoration. You start adoring his activities and the way he has conducted himself and guided people. And then this will result in supreme love to God. And that's what we want to ultimately. So you should have faith, and then you are attracted to certain qualities, and then you get into adoration, admiration, and ultimately supreme love. And that is ultimate end of achieving, and you have to practice it over and over again. Now, it is mentioned in the second sutra itself that bhakti is important, and it also said it is better than karma and jnana. This is a very bold statement. Of course, this is given by sage Narada, so nothing to question about. But you can think how it is. See, karma is one thing related to that all of us must do. Karma can be made into karma yoga by simply dedicating all actions to the higher power, the God, maybe Krishna. Now, if you look at Bhagavad Gita, there are more than 40 slokas spread all over all the chapters, the 18 chapters. More than 40 slokas talking about karma phala tyaga. That is, whatever you do, you say ultimately, you feel you really mean it when you say Krishna Arpanamastu. Let this, whatever that is a good thing. If it benefits somebody, let it be in the name of Krishna. Krishna has made me do this. So, in other words, we are making karma into karma yoga, but still it is not same as bhakti, because bhakti has different qualities we'll talk about later on. But karma, so karma can only make way. Karma must be done. Karma is obligatory. Every day you have to do certain karmas. If you're born in any family, any place in India, you have karmas to do of different types. And this you have to follow and complete them over a period of years. If you are a temple builder, that is your karma. You have to do it. If you have a tank, you're going to be water tank to be made in the village, that's your karma. You have to do that. So these are important. And dvijas have certain duties to be done. So these are all interlinked. It's so fantastically interlinked. For example, I was thinking, suddenly it came to me, there are suktas in Vedas. You look at Bhumi Sukta. Now everybody is talking about Bhumi, our Mother Earth being active, alive, etc., etc. But thousands of years ago, we said, you know what sustains Bhumi? In the Bhumi Sukta, the first word that is said is Satyam. Satyam is truth, that which is always should be uttered by humans if you want Bhumi to thrive and give us what we want. It's not simply a dead thing. You put any chemical you want, you pour any water you want, and you put any seed you think of. These are all having repercussions on changes the whole entire universe. So when you're in Satya and do activities, then Bhumi will thrive and give us what we want. So this is very, very wonderful and powerful image to follow. So hence we have a reason why we do certain things. Anyway, so karma yoga. Now, how can bhakti be better than jnana? Jnana is, again, have several layers, and the highest layer is that Atma Jnana, that we know about Atman. And we think we have an identity of Atman into Paramatma. So Paramatma, I have to realize. And that is supposed to be a direct path. However, Jnana is in the actual traditional way, it is reserved to sannyasis. Sannyasis are qualified to get into Jnana Yoga and Jnana and identity with God. So unless you go through ashramas, these ashramas, it is difficult to get into Jnana and realize the way it is. So that's why it becomes difficult and it's very exclusive. It looks like getting that Jnana and getting that knowledge. So that's also limited scope for most of us who are doing our daily duties at home and at college or wherever we are working. So then this bhakti can be practiced by anybody, anytime, anywhere. There is no distinction between once you're into bhakti. The bhakti yoga takes you and inside, so to say, and there is no, it says, for example, Nastiteshu jati vidya rupa kula dhana kriya bihi bedaha. There is no beda, there is no difference. You can have different kula, you can have different activity, different rupa, vidya, different levels of intellectual accomplishments, jati, dhana, money. You may be a rich man, poor man. So when you come into bhakti once, there is no difference. You're all the same. And this is exactly what my own guru or Mula Guru, Sri Ramanuja, came about 1,000 years ago, establishing in a philosophical intent the bhakti that was available at that time and later on also. So he was a social reformer who made several changes in the way that pujas are conducted in big temples. We're talking about not small ones, but big ones, like Tirupati, Tirumala Devasthanam. What kind of worship must be done, when it should be done, what, and more importantly, when people come, or all walks of life, climbing up the beautiful 7 hills and coming up to the presence of Lord, they are just the same. They are equal. In every respect, they're equal. So what we should do is not what he experienced when he was a boy, that he was given prasada and the boy outside was not given prasada. He said, everybody must have God's prasada after getting darshan of God. Go in and have sama bhojana. He introduced sama bhojana. Everybody, irrespective of caste or creed or educational level, should sit together and enjoy this bhojana, this gift of God to all of us. So once you are in that bhakti, you have no distinction whatsoever. So that is the importance of bhakti. So bhakti does not distinguish like both karma and jnana does. And it is not easy, but at the same time, it is not difficult and everybody can pursue it. A householder can do it. A man sitting at under a tree can do it. A philosopher can do it. A peasant can do it. A lady can do it. A child can do it. And we have examples of this over and over again in our scriptures. Now, and bhakti also opens up a new kind of thinking. When, for example, in Ramayana, Hanuman tells Sri Rama, Deha buddhya dasoham, Deha buddhya dasoham, Jiva buddhya tvadamsaha, Jiva buddhya tvadamsaha, Atma buddhya tvameva aham, Atma buddhya tvameva aham. In other words, Deha buddhya dasoham. I'm a dasa, I'm your servant. If you look at my body and see how the body is responding to your requirements. I'm a servant, Sri Rama. And Hanuman continues, Jiva buddhya. If you look at Jiva within me, I am your Amsa. I am part of you. Not really completely one with you. I am part of you, but I'm no longer your servant, because if I am part of you, I'm always included in you. So in other words, for example, somebody, an ant comes and bites me. I take it away and throw it out. It doesn't mean my hand is different from my body. My hand and body are interlinked. So it is not even helping. It is just taking care of it. That's all. So Deha Buddhya, Dasoham, Jiva Buddhya, Tada Amsam, your Amsa. And Atma Buddhya, Tvamevaham. If you take Atma, there's no difference between you and me. I am you, you are me. So that is the ultimate of Bhakta, that he becomes one with that ocean of consciousness we call with different names as God. So that is the aspect of Buddha, that Bhakti that seems to be very peculiar to Bhakti only. And then the next sutra, the third one says, Narada Bhakti Sutra, Amrtaha Swarupascha. Bhakti is the nature of nectar. Amrita means nectar, which means leading to immortality. This is the commentary given. Amrita Swarupascha, Amrita Swarupa, that is Bhakti, the ultimate Parabhakti you talked about, is Amrita Swarupa. It takes you to immortality. It is transcendence. Hence, Bhakti has a direct way of getting into immortality for anyone who wants to be so. Yat labdhva umam siddho bhavati, amurtho bhavati, tripto bhavati. Yat labdhva, after achieving which, Puman, anybody, he becomes a Siddha, a great Siddha Purusha. Amurtho bhavati, he becomes immortal. Tripto bhavati, he is very satisfied. So, Bhakti, irrespective of the background, once we get into that and go to the Parabhakti, he becomes immortal and he is complete and becomes Siddha Purusha. Siddha Purusha need not be interpreted as Siddhas that Patanjali Yoga Sutra talks about, but that he can, in a totality, he is part of this universe. So if he's part of a universe is part of him, he can do whatever he wants, which may not be understandable at this time by science, by modern science. Okay, so that's the aspect of Bhakti. Tasmat sayeva satarati salokhan starayati. Tasmat eva satarati means crosses. Satarati sa lokhan starati. So he crosses lokhan starayati. All the people of the world, he can also take them across. See, after once he crosses, he can also be a guide and a guru to a lot of people who wants to cross and take this path of bhakti. And do you have any examples? Yes, of course we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramakrishna, and Sri Yogananda, you can name it. There's so many people around who has done this, he continues doing that. Even though they are not physically amongst us, they're able to influence and take us across. And we can also say that slight distinctions are there in the bhakti. For example, Draupadi and Gajendra. You know, Draupadi called for Krishna in the sabha where she is being dragged into, and she had no recourse to anybody. Her husbands were sitting there doing nothing. And she raised her hand and called for Krishna. This is called Artha Bhakti, Bhakti in distress. She wasn't deeply in Bhakti for Krishna anyway. And when she called, Krishna has no choice. Same for all of us. If we have that kind of bhakti and that kind of dedication, it doesn't matter what it is, when we call, he will come. This is a simple message. So with Gajendra, Gajendra Moksha, the big elephant, his feet were caught by the crocodile due to, both of them had some curse for improper dealings with great people. Anyway, that apart, Gajendra was a great king at one time, and he was a great devotee of Lord. And at the critical juncture, when he was losing his strength and everything is leaving, his strength is leaving, his prana is leaving, he shouts for rescue from Narayana and Vishnu, and they come. Vishnu comes and then rescues him. So that's also, he was in distress, and it is called Artha Bhakti. Uddhava, in Bhagavata, you can see, Uddhava is a great devotee of Krishna. Jignasu, he was also a great learned person, but he was always at the feet of Sri Krishna. Only the clothes that Krishna has used and thrown away, he will go and take it and use it for himself. Only the food left on the plate, on the leaf by Sri Krishna, he will go and eat the rest of the food left by Krishna. So he was like a shadow all the time attending to Sri Krishna's requirements. He was Jignasu. On top of it, he is a great Vedic Pandit. So he has Jignasu Bhakti, what is called is Jignasu Bhakti. That's what Uddhava was. He was a different type, Uddhava. Dhruva is called Artha Bhakta because he wanted a position. He was praying to God to get some position, recognition. So there's a purpose for this. So he is called Artha Bhakta. So there are different types of bhaktis. And normally bhakti is related to Navavida Bhakti. Sravanam, listening, Kirtanam, singing praise of God, Vishnoho Smaranam, remembrance through japa, Padasevanam. Padasevanam is serving God's creations. Narayana Seva, for example, feeding the poor. Archanam, God's Vigraha being worshipped. Vandanam, prostration. From the beginning, from the time when you start your day, you have to think of these eternal systems in the universe and do prostrations to them, like from the earth. Before you put your feet on the earth, you tell Mother Earth, Mother, I'm going to put my feet on you, kindly bear with me. So that is Vandana, prostration. Dasyam, servitude, like Hanuman and Sri Lakshmana. And Sakhyam, Gopas and Gopis, their friendship, intense friendship to Sri Krishna. And ultimately, not the least, Atma Nivedanam, that is total, complete self-surrender. Is also called in different ways in different traditions within the Bhakti movement. We'll touch upon it later on. So these are Navavida Bhaktis. We can express ourselves and attach to God, and God realization coming through any one of these or combined of these Navavida Bhaktis. So hence now we have seen briefly that Narada telling Vedavyasa that once you have this and you have examples of these people, like we talked about starting with Draupadi and Gajendra and Uddhava and Prahalada, you name them, there's so many of them. And not to talk about, of course, that later Tukaram, the Marathi Bhakti groups are there who are singing the praise of God all the time. They said that Tukaram was sitting, he was alone and singing, as he was always doing. He goes outside the village and sits and sings, and his wife is taking care of the children, his own mother and father, and making chapatis for them for the midday meal. Tukaram has not come back, so the wife will not eat, and the mother and father will not eat. So there's a big problem. So she has to go in search of Tukaram. Meanwhile, so she goes there with some chapatis and some dal, and finds ultimately he's sitting somewhere outside the village and serves him and say, Tuka, if you don't eat, I will not eat. If I don't eat, your parents don't eat. So please take part of this. I'll sit here, you eat, and I'll go back. He says, no, I'm singing. That is my eating, my sleeping, my everything. So you go back. I'll take it. I'll promise I'll eat this. So she goes back. Meanwhile, a dog which is around, it comes suddenly plunges into the chapatis and takes a couple of chapatis and starts running. And Tukaram takes his basket in his hand and starts running behind the dog. He says, wait, dog, don't run away. Here is some dal. You take the dal also, otherwise it'll be very, very dry. You'll not like it. And he runs and catches the dog. And lo and behold, it is not dog, it is Sri Krishna himself. He said, whatever form I take, you find out who I am, says Krishna, and blesses him and disappears. So a bhakta is a type where everything, there is no form, nothing. There is only Krishna which is seen anywhere he sees. So that's the way that they have shown us that this is not only possible within our own lifetime, we can do this. And these distinctions all disappear and we became one with the highest power. Okay, this is Narada Bhakti Sutra. Let's move to Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Is there any comments also? I don't know how we can do, Supriya.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is audible now. I'm here.
Anybody? Right. Anybody wants to ask a question, you can always stop me and put the question to me. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dear audience, if you have any question, you may ask. You may write here in the box.
Right. You write, and she'll stop me and ask me question when I finish a particular sentence or whatever. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Good. Then let's go on to Patanjali Yoga Sutra. This is very interesting because people think he never talked about bhakti. There's a way of looking at it. My acharya is Tirumala Sri Krishnamacharya, who lived to the age of 102 and passed away in the year 1999 or so. Just very recent. I'm not that old. I'm only 83 years old. So, okay. So I have met him in my lifetime and took some couple of lessons with him because these acharyas are so strict. Unless you dedicate your life to that, you cannot really survive in their presence. So I was happy to take 2 lessons, and I'm very, very happy to start with 2 lessons. That's a different story. I'll tell some other day. Anyway, he comes in the Vamsa of Nathamuni. Now, there's a story behind this. I think I shall take it up here because you may not, I don't want to miss that out if the time runs out. Nathamuni is Acharya who was around about 700 years ago. And he brought in the literature in Tamil of the great Acharyas who were there just at the start of Kali Yuga in the southernmost province of India, of Tamil Nadu, of India. And they are called, there are 12 Acharyas, 12 whom composed in Tamil great sutras in the name of God. Anything to say? Okay. And Nathamuni has fortunately brought this. There are 4,000 verses composed by 12 Alvars, we call them. Alvars is those who have come to rule us through the path of love. Alvars. Ra is very special in Tamil, so you must have difficulty, but it's okay, try it out. There are 12 Alvars, starting just after the disappearance of Sri Krishna's avatara, that is about 5,000 years ago. For about 1,000 years, these 12 Alvars came amongst us and gave us in Tamil total 4,000 verses. Unfortunately, Nathamuni was able to bring this in. And it's very interesting how he brought this out, because he had to go and do penance in the front of the first Alvars, not really first, but a prominent Alvar called Nam Alvar, our Alvar, we call it in Tamil, in the southernmost tip in a village where he was born. When he was born, this boy didn't open his mouth to drink milk from the mother, didn't open his eyes, he just kept quiet, he was breathing. The mother tried, the father tried, everybody tried to wake him up, he never opened his eyes. But he seemed to be alive. The parents didn't know what to do. After all this tapas they've done for years, the boy is born, and now the boy is not talking or opening its crying or opening its eyes. So the elders of the village thought, okay, he's alive, so let him be. What do we do? If he doesn't want to eat, drink milk, let it be so. So they take the child and puts it next to the temple, in the temple praharam inside. There's an old tree. There's a hole in the tree. And they put a little bit of comforting material and put the child there and say, okay, Swami, I don't know what we can do. Here is this boy. And they left. And the boy was there. And every day they went and people went and see, and then he seems to be still the same state, but he was slowly growing a little bit. So they let him be. This went on for a while. Meanwhile, an old man in the village, in the neighborhood village, wanted to become a sannyasi. He wanted to go to Banaras to collect his ashrama and his bija mantra, etc. Started moving north. And one day, halfway through, his name is Madhura Kavi. He turns around, looks at the southern part of India where he was leaving his hometown and coming. And suddenly he saw a light emanating from the southern tip, from around the village where he left. And he was wondering, what is this light? And again, second night also he saw, third night he saw. He said, okay, there is something happening, let me go back. So he came back to the village. And the light was emanating from this little child inside he's no longer little, he was a little big now. He was about 10 years old. And the light was emanating from him. And he goes and prays to this child and say, what is that? It's strange. So he takes a little stone, because the child is closing its eye, not opening still. He takes a little stone and hits another stone, makes noise to wake up the child. And the child suddenly gives a jerk. And the old man asks the question, if the little one has to survive, what should it do? The question is, if the little one needs to survive, what it should do? And the answer came, first time he's opening his mouth, this boy was opening his mouth and telling, it should eat it and do this. That's all he said. And then the old man thought this is a most profound statement and falls at the feet and learns from him 1,100 verses that comes out of his mouth of this child. And this then comes in a parampara as one of the first emanations of Alvar's complete surrender and complete bhakti to the Krishna and higher power and Narayana. So this is a great, Nadamuni, after thousands of years, brings this in, and Krishnamacharya belongs to a tradition, and he talks about these 4,000 verses, how they are compiled. And the reason, one thing I'll tell you is the child, how it's able to do is the following. Now there's something called, he's also called Sadagopa. You must have heard the name Sadagopa, very traditional name. It actually means Satha Gopa. Satha is a Vayu. As soon as the child is born, the child opens his mouth or cries. If you don't cry, don't worry. The doctor is going to hit you, make you cry. because that is reality of earth. So doctor is telling you this is real, why you're not crying? So when you open the mouth as a child, as soon as you come out of the mother, open your mouth or your eyes, the Satavayu enters the child and makes him ignorant, makes him or her ignorant. So we lose the contact with our creator, as it were, with the God, and we become human beings at that time. So this child has closed his mouth and eyes, not letting the Satavayu to enter it. Now, we don't know what Satavayu is, but this is a description given. So because of that, he is called Satagopan, that is the controller of Satavayu. He had controlled that Vayu, and he was always in the presence of God. And whenever he opens his mouth, what comes out is the truth as dictated by God, as it were. So that's a tradition that Srimala Krishnamacharya belonged to. Let me tell very quickly. The Yoga Sutras on Bhakti is first chapter 23rd to 29th sutras. 123 says Ishvara Pranidhanatva. Ishvara Pranidhanatva. That is, while calming the mind and getting into deeper levels of consciousness, Ishvara Pranidhana is one method. And this is the method of Bhakti as per Sri Krishnamacharya. By the way, Krishnamacharya was in Mysore, and all the 1900s and 1920s, when there's nobody knew about yoga, he was teaching yoga. And ultimately he took into his care B.K.S. Iyengar, Patabi Joyce, and everybody else who is important in yoga today were his students at one time. So that is his contention, that from Ishvara Pranidhana 123 to 129 are the verses related to Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. Now he is designated through Pranava. Pranava being Om, Omkara. So you can do Omkara chanting, you are doing Bhakti Yoga. And you know that Omkara chanting has a lot of positive responses in the body, as determined, as found out by Nimhan's people, National Institute of Mental Health and Yoga, and Nimhan's in Bangalore. Research has found out even 5 minutes of Omkara chanting gives the biochemicals in the brain which are equivalent to taking antidepressant tablets. When you take antidepressant tablets, certain biochemicals are released in the brain to get over depression. The same biochemicals are released in the brain when you do Omkara chanting. So anybody coming with depression, you tell them, look, do Omkara chanting, 5 minutes a day, 3 times a day, you're okay. So anyway, so Om denotes the Godhead. Tad japa, tad artha bhavanam. Okay, so these are the sutras, 6 sutras related to Yoga Sutras. Any questions, please?
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
want
much,
to wrap
sir.
it up? Shall I wrap it up? What I have done so far? It's 4 o'clock now.
Yes, sir, it is 4 o'clock now, and we are really very thankful to listen to you on this very wonderful topic on Bhakti and how this is important for any path of yoga. Bhakti is very important, really. So we are really grateful to listen to you on this topic. Now I would like to request our Chancellor, sir, for the concluding notes.
Then let him first sum up in a minute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir, आपकी जो video है, sir, video on करने के लिए.
You want? Okay, I'll sum it up in a couple of minutes. Just we're talking about Bhakti to Transcendence. And I tried to cover 2 areas. One is Bhakti Sutras of Narada Bhakti Sutras. I told it's available freely for download. Please download and have a look at it. And very exclusive properties or advantages once you get, irrespective of background, irrespective of education qualification, your jati, mata, etc., you can follow bhakti. And that is very powerful message from Sri Narada himself. Secondly, I just mentioned about Natha Muni and his collecting these 4,000 verses on bhakti from Arvars, who happened to be about 5,000 years ago. And wonderful ones, if you can understand and listen to in Tamil. But if you have a chance, you listen to some of them at least and see how it is, how bhakti is expressed in various vernaculars. Every corner of India, there is bhakti movement, and great bhaktas have come and gone and shown us the way how to be, how to achieve mukti. Bhakti to mukti is the theme today. And I thank you, all of you, especially the Chancellor and Sri Priya, who has taken, pains to make sure I'll be available here. There was a little bit of glitch in the beginning, but everything is fine now. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be in association with you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Professor Subramanian. Srinivasan, sorry. If you recall, we had the Renaissance age. Of course, the Europeans are talking about that around 14th, 15th century, the Jagrati ka time aaya. And during that period, in Europe, the basic sciences came up, whether Newton's law of gravity or anyone else. But year after year, decade after decade, something new was added to science. I was wondering, if it is so, if a really Renaissance, what happened to India? Oh, then I looked at the pages of our literature. It was a Bhakti movement. Many Mirabai, Guru Nanak Dev, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ravida, Kavi, so many people came. Because that is, science does not mean that the science which the Europeans have given us. This is our science. Bhakti is our science. Devotion is our science. Commitment is our science. Puja, bhakti, these are our things. So it is the Europeans, they separated the science from the ancient Indian science. So we were taking science in a very collective manner, but now in the modern term, science is separate and bhakti is separate. This is my first remark, that we are very fortunate that we too had the bhakti movement. And as you said, Narada was the greatest devoted person for Bhakti, and he has 4,000 verses on Bhakti movement alone. My last comment is, whatever you do the best. If Mirabai can come, find God through Bhakti, anyone else also can. We need to have the commitment, 100% commitment, but when you have doubt, can it happen or it may not happen? Why should I waste my time? Nothing can be gained. So Bhakti calls for commitment, calls for devotion, calls for surrender, and everything that you have. And obviously the end result will be the same, whether you go through meditation or through bhakti or through even karma. Even good karma can also take you near to the God, and the path can be easier. So we are thankful to Professor Srinivasan, who has given a wonderful talk, which is really heart-touching, that bhakti is the greatest asset Hindu civilization had, but somehow or the other, because we in our universities, we are learning and we have learned what the Britishers told us. And we have not shed away yet. We do not know. We are studying the European science and British English, and that hierarchy is still continuing. I think the time has come. Time of the Indian culture has come. Indians must rise to the occasion and use to tell and should tell to the world that our science is different. And it contains, their science is only one part of what we had. Our science was comprehensive. It was everything, whether it was the physical, the chemical, the spiritual, the devotional. It was all clubbed together, assembled into one unit. of knowledge, and knowledge giving you whatever you want. Without, I would say, mind satisfaction, you cannot even study science. So that is one of the reasons neither we are the Indian nor we are the European. We have only 4 Nobel laureates in science till today. And all those, 3 of them were from sitting in the Western labs. Only Hargobind Khurana was from this country, from this lab where he talked about the scattering of light. So friends, if you are spiritual and your yoga sciences, somebody told me, one sannyasi from the Yogadasa Society of India, I am a follower of that, Yogananda, to acquaint you all. Because if I am also 82, and I have my energy, it is also, of course, through the daily meditation that I undertake. My only message is that, dear people, let us know, revert back to the older things. And I'm also very sorry that many other things which this government should do, and who else, if they cannot do, who else would do? We must bring the ancient Indian wisdom in our curriculum. Not even a single page is there in the books, where starting from the primary to the higher education, or that our science was so rich, we were so full of knowledge, nothing is taught. I think it is the right time when we revert back to the period and start exploring the pages of what we have done in the past. Thank you very much, Professor Srinivasan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for this highly knowledgeable note and to know the close connection between spirituality and science. And we will try our best to revive the knowledge of ancient Indian wisdom, sir. And sir, we are very thankful to listen to you on this wonderful topic. And I hope that our audience will really be benefited and apply this knowledge and understanding in their daily life. Thank you so much, sir. And we would like to welcome you once again in our future webinars. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.